live, yes.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
How are you doing? We're Luz and David. We're getting ready for another of our Evolving Education webinars. We're going to be joined today with Jim Friedman, who is an expert on creativity.
Uh-huh.
So let's see if we can get Jim on board. He's going to be joining from the account of the World Creativity and Innovation Week and Day. Ah, there he is.
Well, I guess that is okay to join
Yeah.
from this one, right? Okay, so let me invite you. Wait. Ting, ting, ting.
Yeah, they can later share it. Ah, there he is. Ah, there he is. Okay. So invitation sent. We're gonna be with you in a minute, Jim.
Ting, ting, ting. Let's see. Have you received the invitation? Let's see.
So it always takes a couple of minutes to start, but I think we got Jim already with us. Nice to see you.
Is that working?
Okay, let's see.
Can you hear us well?
I can.
Hello.
I think. Is that working?
Hello, hello. We can see you, but we cannot hear you for some reason.
You cannot hear me.
I think we can. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I think I have audio.
Yeah.
Okay, now yes.
Okay. Can we? Yeah, you're breaking up.
Challenges, but to hear.
Do you hear us now?
You're breaking up.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear us better now?
How about that? Can you hear us better now?
I can. That's better.
Fantastic. So let's take it from here. Thank you, Jim, for being with us today. It's great to see you again. Let's start with Evolving Education webinars and let people know a little bit what we do here. So we are Luz and David from Evolving Education, and we research and democratize how some of the most progressive learning centers around the world are transforming education. And that has taken us to learn from more than 150 people in 17 countries, and we were just amazed by what we found, what is possible in schools and in learning centers. But we couldn't just stand still, knowing that this reaches really a small fraction of the children in the world. And that's why we're now devoted to make this collective wisdom available to more people. And one of the ways in which we make that is to creating these spaces for awareness, for sharing with people that are innovating in education in different fields. Last week, we talked with Tony Moloney from Australia about the importance of nature and sustainability and storytelling in education. And today, we're going to be talking with Jim about creativity.
So he's a professor at Miami University, and he's teaching innovation and creativity. So when I heard creativity, I get super excited because all my life has been surrounded by, my parents are both artists, and I don't know, it's a field that I'm super passionate and curious about. And how do you teach creativity? I guess that's the main challenge that we have to face. But anyways.
But we would love to know maybe about you first. If you can tell us a little bit about your journey in life and how you ended up deciding to focus on this topic.
Wow. First of all, great to be here. Always wonderful to visit you in your tiki hut. So I have always lived something of a creative life. I have always found ways to do expression. I went to college at the University of Cincinnati College of Design, Architecture, Art, and studied product invention, which was wonderful, but I never worked in it. And when I left college, I decided to become a writer for television, and then I became a television director, producer, and wrote and directed and produced several movies. Until somebody called and asked me if I would teach creativity at the business school at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. That university and do have a great time in working with young business students and helping them to find new ways to think about the problems of our world, to think about the problems of their world, of the problems that they face, and interesting, different, and new ways that they can work to solve them. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, we moved World Creativity and Innovation Week, World Creativity and Innovation Day, from Canada to Ohio, and now it is a project of great passion that I share with the students of Miami University.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, it is a career that goes through many different aspects of creativity and sharing, I think, and communication as well. It's a key part maybe of that creativity and how to share with others.
Can you tell us a little bit more what is creativity and why it's so important to develop it in our lives?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, why should we be talking about this?
Well, yeah, and we should be talking about this. So let's begin with a common understanding of what creativity is, okay? So creativity, most people believe, is about art making. Creativity is I can sing, I can dance, I can draw, I can paint, I can write. And that's why when you ask people if they're creative, their answer is always no, I'm not creative. I have this professor, Roger Firestein, who does this experiment. Whenever he gets on an airplane, he tries to decide as he sits down next to somebody what his answer is going to be when they say, "What do you do?" And if he says, "I teach creativity," they always stop the conversation. They say, "Oh, no, I can't do that. I'm not creative." But if he says, "I teach innovation," they say, "That's important. That's important." So creativity is actually part of a 3-step process that all of us actually use. And the first is imagination. And our imagination is something that we're born with. I mean, when we are kids, our imagination is running wild. We can imagine wonderful things and lots of things, and we use it often. As we get older, well, we think much more serious things, and we have a tendency to let go of those things that made us so creative as children, so imaginative as children. So whenever we take something from our imagination and begin to work with it, well, that's called creativity. And creativity is what I like to call second right answers. Anything that we do that is new and different and useful is creative. So when we say, "Are you creative?" we're not thinking artwork. We're actually thinking, do you do things the exact same way every time? Or do you find new and different ways? The truth of the matter is, we all send text messages. And text messages are a creative act. We all write emails, and emails are a creative act. We all make food and decide what we're going to wear and make hundreds of decisions every day. And when we're not doing things just blankly from habit, we are actually practicing creative thinking. And that is very much what creativity is. Now, it's fun to teach creativity, especially at college level and in the professional world, because we all began as children. And as children, we were greatly creative. And what we have found through research is that all of the mindsets that we owned as children, well, those are what we need to be creative as adults, but we give those things up. We are most creative when we are curious, when we ask questions, when we wonder, when we want to know, when we want to explore. That curiosity is almost synonymous with creativity, that desire to try different things. So when we are young and we ask an average of 65 questions a day, when we get older, we kind of stop asking questions, unless, of course, you have an Instagram Live, and then you ask lots of questions all the time. But kids ask lots of questions. We just don't, because we get this internal voice that says don't. And where that voice comes from is when we are kids, we are curious about everything. And think about that last time you held a baby, right? Your earrings, oh, a baby would love those, right? And yeah, they want to see them. They want to touch them. They want to put it in their mouth. They want to explore. And the first thing we say to a baby is no, don't, stop. That's not yours. Don't touch that. That you'll get hurt. No, you'll break it. Get down off of there. No, it's not time for that because I said so, because it'll ruin your dinner. It's not, right? And all of these messages from parents, from teachers, from friends, right? No, don't run. No, slow down. No, nobody likes that. No, nobody thinks that's cool. Nobody watches that anymore. Nobody's going to buy that. No, right? And we get all of these messages that kill our creativity, to the point that as we get a little bit older, we're saying those things in our heads. All those, no, don't say that, don't ask that. It all comes from within as we get older. That kills our creativity. When we're kids, we love to do things. We love to play. We are naturally risky. We see a soccer ball. First thing we want to do is we want to run up and kick it. And the ball goes that far and it goes in the wrong direction. As an adult, we say, I can't do this. I'm terrible. No, I don't want to do that. As a kid, we say, I want to do it again. That was fun. How do we get that back as adults? How do we, as adults, say, yeah, I'm willing to try. Yes, I'm willing to struggle. Yes, I don't mind if it doesn't turn out perfectly the first time. And what we are teaching our kids in middle school and in high school is we are teaching them to only try what you know you can do to get the grade that you want, and don't go any farther. So in my classes, if you fail, if you make mistakes, and if you come tell me what you did and what you learned from it, there's the A. There's the grade when you do something that didn't turn out right, but you learned from it. Oh, that's where perfection is, because that's where growth is. And so these are some of the, a few of the mindsets that really make us creative, that we owned when we were little and we killed as we get older. How's that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, Jim. Yeah, it's so many points of connection, so many things that resonate with me.
Yeah, it's that always. I guess that there is the fixed mindset. There is when we are all the time just not taking risk or not willing to make any mistakes. Which I wanted to ask, what role does then failure plays in
Oh,
creativity?
failure is critical in creativity. Failure is probably one of the most critical um, parts of creativity, because it is our failures that lead us to our successes. Because more often than not, we try to do only what we know we can succeed in, and which is
Mm-hmm.
fine, right? But it doesn't create anything new. And so what I
Hmm.
do every semester is I always do a class where I know it's not going to work out real well. And I say to the students, and I already know what it's going to be next semester. I'm really excited about it. But I always do something that I've never done before. And when you do something for the first time, give yourself a little grace. Give yourself, don't expect perfection. As a matter of fact, celebrate your mistakes. Celebrate, and we really don't like to celebrate failure. We like to celebrate the learning from failure. We like to celebrate the growth and how we change. When we learn to play a new instrument, we weren't great the first time, right? And so it's those mistakes, the failure to failure to failure, learning, until we all of a sudden begin to get good. And that's the way it should be in every class. That's the way it should be in every endeavor. That's the way it should be for every meal that we make and every letter that we write, every report that we do. All of these all of these things are designed for us to become more creative. Now, we talk about creativity. Let me make one more point here. Um, we talk about creativity in terms of, wow, Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, Albert Schweitzer, all these great people around the world who have changed our world. And yes, that's creativity, but that's what we call eminent creativity, or big C creativity, the very top. As a matter of fact, most people never get the big C creativity while they are alive. Every once in a while, you get a Jeff Bezos. Every once in a while, you have a Martin Luther King, a Nelson Mandela. You get people who in the moment that this is big C creativity. But there is also mini C creativity. Remember our definition of new and useful. Learning to write for a 4-year-old is a creative act. Learning to write, it's new and it's useful, and that's mini C. Little C is, as we get older, the papers that we write for school are creative acts. And if we write them with a little bit of risk, and we write them with a little eye towards failure, and again, I need to say, not failure for when you turn it in, but failure in the iterative drafts. Each time you write it, try something new, come back and read it the next day, say, no, I need to change that, I need to make that better. Wow, we can get to real good little C creativity throughout our lives. What I am teaching my students, and I just see that a few of them just signed on. What we're teaching is for them to become professional C, pro C creatives, so that everything they do in their jobs, in the way they interact with the world, they see those second right answers, they see those opportunities, they're willing to take those little risks, they're willing to own the small mistakes in order to learn to do bigger and better things. And then our lives can be filled with creativity in the way we interact with people, in the way we do our jobs in the way we raise our children. All of those things are creative acts.
And it resonated with me, Jim, when you said about the no, no, no that we say to children all the time of you're going to break that, it's not time for that, you don't know how to use it. And it reminds me of one school that we were visiting, a public school in the south of Spain, and they were telling us the story of a child that I think had a bit hyperactive. He was always nervous, moving from one class to another. And at some point, he broke out and shouted back to the teachers who were telling him all the time that he couldn't run, he couldn't move into the classroom, he couldn't do it. It's like, I only hear no. Pretty much you are telling me not to be me. And I think this is something that, I mean, that's kind of a specific case where we can say, oh, it's because of that child had this condition. But actually, this is something that we do pretty much with every single person since we are born. Because no one is made to be sit down for 6 hours in a chair listening to a person or doing activities or doing exams or any of the things.
Or being motivated, but I think that you tell them that they need to be motivated.
Yeah, so we need to say no and follow my advice and my instructions too many times to people up to the point where we reach that point where there's no creativity left.
It's like just compliance of.
And actually, you mentioned something, that creativity and curiosity are very connected. When we're curious by something, we're intrigued, we go and explore, and something might come out of it. Actually, we're doing a documentary film that is called Killing Curiosity. So maybe we can talk about that another day and get some advice about how to build the storyline of that more. That's what we're working on the moment now in post-production. Anyways, and the stories that have inspired us has been seeing all these many cases about how we don't want to support children in their development, and now seeing how many other people are making that possible. And one of the big changes of mindset is failure. And in fact, one of the models of our training for teachers is called learning from failure. And it's asking ourselves when we learn the most in our lives, and it tends to be in some occasions where something went terribly wrong, and we learn a lot from it. Thinking them back to students or the process about the child that you're more proud of, actually, how many times have they tried the things and how many times have they gone through that? So I think there's a lot to it, to the change of mindset and seeing failure and learning pretty much as the same thing, because it's just a process. The moment that failure turns into not learning is when we put a stamp on it. When we do a time shot and say, now stop there. Now this is a failure. But like tomorrow, it might be learning. But if we stop it there and we make an evaluation and we put a number to it, then we can say that's a failure. And that's way more damaging than allowing the person to grow from their learnings and mistakes.
And there is a really important point, I think, and it's focusing on that process instead of the result. No? I think that.
Yeah, that's one of the key ones. And I was hearing about your big C and then small c, and I must say I don't completely agree. I don't agree first with the definition of creativity including usefulness, because for me something creative doesn't need to be useful or doesn't need to be evidently useful per se initially. And also about the big C's, that I think in many cases these people that we recognize, like Nelson Mandela or Steve Jobs, are the result of many small C's of many people and not just themselves. They are the visible head of something that lots of people made possible, including themselves, of lots of small steps to get there. But it's way easier through history and when we tell stories to have a hero character in our in that journey.
Absolutely. Oh no, that's always very true. Which is one of the things that we talk about with our students. We have a tendency to say to our kids, keep your eyes on your own paper, do your own work, And so one of the things that I'm trying to reteach is collaboration. I had to say yesterday, as they're doing their final project, I said, I want the credits page for what you're turning in. Why do I want the credits page? And you say, so we make sure we do our own work? No. I want the credits page because I want to know who else you went to. I want you to, if you're doing this at your house, I want your family to help. You are the curator of your creativity. You aren't the only part of your creativity. So if you're going to brainstorm, invite your friends. If you're out walking around, take a walk with somebody and tell them what you're working on and get their thoughts and get their insights. That everybody within 10 feet of you should know what you're working on and give you some feedback. And because that changes your perspective, it changes your growth. So absolutely, we are all the products always of a collective creative collaboration. There is, though, as I will share with you, has got to be someone who says, okay, the buck stops here, and I'm going to choose this answer. And again, that's the person who either gets the credit for having chosen the right answer or who gets the blame for having chosen a very poor answer. As I said, that I used to be in television, and yes, you know, there were times when I got great credit. You can see Emmys over my shoulder, but what you don't see over my shoulder are the newspaper articles that said, you know, Friedman had a television show on today. It's not very good, because sometimes I made some real bad calls and some real bad decisions, some real bad edits. So it's, and those, as you basically said, those were my greatest learnings. You don't learn as much from your successes. You learn everything from your mistakes.
And you brought up another really important topic, I think, on creativity, and that's collaboration, particularly at the moment that we're living now. We were reflecting with some educators recently about which are some of the biggest challenges that we are facing as humanity. And one of the topics that came out was cooperation. I think we're reaching a moment of history where we need a level of cooperation that it's beyond what we have experienced before, because the challenges that we are facing cannot be solved by any single individual. Whether it's climate change, whether it's democracy in the world of fake news and social media manipulating people's views about things, whether it's the change of work through AI. So there are lots of really big social demographic changes taking place, and there's a lot of collective decision making and actions that need to happen to move towards more sustainable and humane and natural ways of living. And I think that's for me, that's kind of the core challenges, because if we learn to collaborate, to learn to speak with each other, to solve our conflicts, then everything else can be solved.
Right.
I think just working that way.
Absolutely.
Just the part of communication is hard. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I fully agree. We have, as a world, become in many ways so much more divided. And we, at World Creativity and Innovation Day, are champions of the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which hope lead us to changing the world, saving the world, making the world much more fair place to be. Our concern, though, is that whoever has the microphone in these conversations has a tendency to be much more advocacy than collaboration. Let me tell you the right way to do this, as opposed to let's have some opposing viewpoints. Let's look at who doesn't agree with us and listen to them. I belong to an organization where the motto is "Great minds do not always think alike," and as other people have said, if we all think alike, then somebody's not thinking. So I really I love opposing viewpoints. As a matter of fact, you know, when students come and say, "I really love the class," that's nice to hear. But what don't you like about it? What could be better? What could be different? and you want that changed, let me tell you why I do it that way, so you can hear my thinking, and then you tell me why I might be wrong. If we could have those kinds of communications throughout the world, as opposed to, this is what I believe, and anybody who doesn't believe this is an idiot and should be, then I think we're heading in a wrong direction. Collaboration has a lot to do with connection and understanding.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit more about this this event and the platform as well to share the projects, the World Creativity Week and Day, so that more people can know about how to use it and how to share their examples?
Absolutely, absolutely. So World Creativity and Innovation Week and World Creativity and Innovation Day was created by Marcy Siegel in Canada in the early 2000s. She protected it and grew it as a grassroots effort throughout the world in a wonderful, wonderful group of human beings. And they celebrated in their ways. And she continued to share her vision with the United Nations until 2017, when they named World Creativity and Innovation Day an International Day of Observation. So World Creativity and Innovation Day is very much about saving the planet. It's very much about using our creativity for better education, for cleaner water, for cleaner air, for human rights, all of those things. There's 17 of them. World Creativity Innovation Week is about using creativity in our everyday lives. And we celebrate World Creativity and Innovation Week beginning every year on Leonardo da Vinci's birthday. 2 more shopping days if you haven't gotten him a nice present yet. That will be Saturday, April the 15th. And we start on April 15th every year. And it goes 7 days. And the celebrations are on our website. The world, 151 countries have registered a celebration of their creativity. 151. I think we're over 700 celebrations now, all over the world. And they are listed on there. We at World Creativity Innovation Week and World Creativity Innovation Day see ourselves with 3 purposes. Number 1, to share everybody's celebration, and for you to feel like you can join celebrations all over the world. So stop in to see the celebration that they do in Bogota, Colombia every year, which is wonderful, that connects with the entire Latin community. But also show up to the kids' celebration in Indonesia, in Jakarta. They do an amazing thing every year. The educators in Finland have a symposium every year. That's a spectacular conversation on the state of the art in creativity. And there are celebrations in Nigeria and South Africa and Denmark. 151 countries celebrating, and they're all listed at wciw.org, wciw.org. You can see the celebrations for World Creativity Innovation Week and World Creativity and Innovation Day.
Thank you for sharing, Jim. And yeah, everyone that's watching is encouraged to go there, and we're going to share as well in our channels and newsletters so more and more celebrations come up there to show the diversity of creativity, the diversity of cultures, and how we understand this concept around the world and bring it to fruition. And thinking about, I have one last question, maybe a curiosity of mine, and this is very much related to the change in paradigm in education that is moving from more content towards skills. So I think there's a common consensus nowadays that memorizing dates and specific contents and then put it in an exam. I think we already know that that's not a very effective way of learning. It gets forgotten very quickly, and also that is has pretty little relevance with our present moment in history. So we're moving towards a more towards a skill sets such as creativity, problem solving, empathy, communication, lots of different types of skills that a lot of people agree that are very important in life and that most people need to develop nowadays. Now, my question goes towards evaluating these skills. It feels sometimes that things that you only get what you measure, and that if we keep measuring contents, even though we say in the schools that the skills are more relevant, we'll keep focusing on the contents. So there are some people developing some frameworks to measure some skills such as creativity. I'm kind of the thinking that when you measure a skill, you are doing something detrimental for the development of that skill, perhaps, depending on which of those skills. And I wanted to know your thoughts about this when it comes to creativity.
Well, one of the things that my students know is that I do not grade their creativity. Their creativity, to me, is perfect. They need to find their way to express it, and I cannot grade it. What I can grade is their process, because the process you can show me, and I can give you some guidelines, and if you can work the process, then whatever comes out of it is yours and perfect. So I agree with you to some extent, but I'm going to push back a little bit on what we need to be teaching. And I think one of the most important things that we need to teach is the importance of wanting to learn, the importance of education, the importance of, because all we care about, I think, as educators, is that you are excited about learning, that you know how to learn. I had dinner with one of my students. He's now the head of finance for this new startup company. And he said, I really feel bad because I had no classes that taught me how to do my finance job. And I said, if we had given you an elective on running finance, would you have taken it? He said, oh, absolutely not. No, I hate finance. I said, so how are you doing at your job? He said, I'm doing real well. I said, so how are you doing it? Because we never taught you. He said, because I figured it out. We taught you how to figure it out. We helped you understand the enjoyment of learning, the excitement of figuring things out, the value of making mistakes, of taking risks, of collaborating. We gave you all these tools. And when it came time to know, that's when you plugged in what we taught you. So no, you don't need to know the facts. You just need to know where the facts are hiding. And frankly, you don't even need to know all the information because it's already out there. What you need to know is how to be resilient, is how to be excited about knowing, how to value your learning. And people say, I really hate school.
Can you? Yeah, we just came back. But we heard most of your sharing.
Yeah.
But if you want to,
I'll say that one more time. What we are teaching is for you to be excited about knowing. What we're teaching is your excitement to learn. You'll be able to find anything you want. And I wish that students that we could make education as exciting for students when they're excited to come to school, when they're excited to come to class, as excited as they are to go out and do the other things that they do. If we could make it that valuable, I think we'll be doing something very powerful.
Absolutely. And actually, you touch on our, like when we started our research, our core question was how to motivate the students. And then the more that we learn about education and about different ways of enabling learning, the more our question switched to our current one, which is how to empower children to take control of their learning. Because in many cases it wasn't about giving you this candy or giving you this award or making you excited about something, but rather creating the space where your natural curiosity can flourish and where you see learning as a natural part of life rather than something to be afraid of or where you're going to be evaluated somehow, but rather your number one tool to live in the world.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say that empowerment, I think, because when it's like we focus on motivating and coating maybe some stuff so they learn it, but because we are focusing on teaching something that they haven't chosen, and that empowerment and taking those decisions by your once that you start taking control of your decisions and your life, then you are motivated by it because it's your life. Are those that perseverance is being built when you take your own decisions and persevere and keep going.
Let me push back on that just a little bit. If you ask a child what he wants for dinner, he's going to say cake and candy and cookies and ice cream. If you say to a child, let's go to the doctor and you need a shot, he says, no, I don't want the shot. I don't want medicine. Sometimes there needs to be somebody who can say, I know what's coming up in the future, and so I need to give you a little bit of medicine. I need to give you some vegetables.
Please, if you know that person, we want to know that person. The person that knows what's happening in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think those of us who get our hair color in the gray store, we have some idea of some things that students might need to know to make their journey or make navigating their journey a little bit better. Okay?
Agree, yeah.
And sometimes we need to give them just a little medicine. If we can do it in an empowering way, if we can do it in an exciting way, in a connective way, in a way that allows them to struggle, but feel safe in the struggle, I think that we can get them, all of them, across the line well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why we talk about spaces and methodologies and ways of creating schools that are empowering. It's not just asking what do you want for dinner, but the reflection process that goes there, the questions that you ask.
It doesn't mean...
And even they choose cake today, and then we talk about, okay, so what about if we look a little bit into what goes in that cake and why you chose to eat that cake? I mean, is that cake made then in a natural way, or has it been flavored in such a way that it has, a taste that you will never find in nature, but it's way more addictive? And then people learn a lot through that process, so that when they become supposedly free, when they're 18, they say, oh, now I can do whatever I want in life, so I'm going to eat cake every single day of my life until I have health problems that we see in society, but rather they have learned through the process to have the critical thinking, to question the things that are around them.
And it doesn't mean that you cannot share that information. And yeah, because I think that something really important is actually asking them, can I share something with you that I know that I have learned about, and then starting to have that conversation, and then hear their point, and doing experiments and trying new things, and that way you have that conversation in which both people actually get to learn and take decisions. Like, it doesn't mean that you don't influence the other person, you just share your point of view, and that way, but give them that power to start taking those decisions since they are small. And that way, when they get older, they can keep making decisions. Like,
yeah.
I think
mostly for the skills that you develop in that process. It's not necessarily you're going to make the best decision possible, because that's hard to say which one is the best, but the process, the critical thinking, the collaboration, the reflection, the curiosity that is kept alive, all those things are so big that, you know, year after year they grow into people that when we have interviewed children in democratic schools or in self-directed learning center, and we speak with youth 12 years old, and they give us amazing examples to some of our questions. That's why we're building a documentary film, because it's like these people need to hear these children and the way that they think being so mature and elaborate when they have been given the chance to take an active role in their education.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Very cool.
So good to speak with you today, Jim. We learned a lot about creativity, about the connection with failure, with curiosity. I think it's going to spark lots of people to read more about this topic and to want to give it a try to some of the things that you mentioned, like inviting people to learn from their failures. Rather than just complaining about them and thinking, okay, what have you learned out of this chance? That's the most valuable thing.
Absolutely. It's been great talking with you both. I hope that everybody listening will go look at wciw.org, and you can reach out to me through there if anybody wants to follow up.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everyone. And yeah, see you next week. We're not doing a webinar because we'll be in a couple of conferences, but we'll be sharing some of the insights over there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You.
You too.